So this is going to be an exciting episode because I have Jerry Benedetto with us. And on this podcast, we talk about, the greatest assets of our communities, our cities, the world is people. And in order to work together, collaborate, we need to be our best selves. And so, as a listener and watching these videos, you kind of know that already. And Jerry here is someone who just totally gets it. And following his story on Instagram. Well, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
All right. So as Rich said, my name is Jerry. We kind of go back a little bit in time before we started the podcast. I think it's been about 10 years since we saw one another, but we went to college at DePaul together. But without going into too much detail, and I'm sure we'll get there at some point throughout the conversation, I'm now living in Portland, Oregon, and I couldn't find pizza like I grew up eating out here. My fiance is from Madison, Wisconsin. She also grew up eating thin square cut pizza, and we couldn't find it out here. We've been here about 2 years, and then I started making it in my house. One thing led to another, and now just this past week, actually, I'm not sure if you're even aware, but Monday I had a soft opening. So I started this week with the operation. So.
Wow. Well, first I want to talk about, so you're from Chicago and you love sports and you're repping the Bears hat right now.
Yeah. Hey, I hope Rodgers leaves, you're Scotty. So I'm hoping, it looks like there's a little
shift in the division
going on or something. So, we drafted Justin Fields. I hope he turns out to be a good pro. But it'd be nice to see the Bears at the top of the NFC North. Because to be honest, I really have nothing against the Packers. I've been more jealous my entire life than anything else, to be honest. So,
a lot of people say I can't do this, but I'm choosing to do this, and that's I cheer for both Wisconsin sports teams and Chicago teams. Just not when they're playing each other. Then I go Wisconsin because I live in Chicago and I want them to do well because this is the city I live in, right? And it's so funny. I saw this one, tweet or meme that was like greatest four quarterback moments in Chicago history. The Jay Cutler run, Justin Fields getting drafted, Deshaun Watson rumors, Aaron Rodgers not being happy with Green Bay.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, that's the best thing that could happen to the Bears is for Rodgers to be out of the division. So I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, but I guess time will tell. But I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is going to retire a Packer. So we'll see.
We'll see. Jerry reminds me of like the old like Saturday. What's that?
A cartoon character?
No, almost close.
The live skit with the
SNL skit, the Bears. Yeah. So what other?
I am rocking my Wolski's Tavern from Milwaukee, Wisconsin shirt. So I knew that I was going to be talking to you, so I figured I'd throw on the Wolski's tee.
What? Okay, so you follow the Sox and the Bulls for sure, right?
Yeah, all Chicago sports, but like you, I'm in Portland now, and Portland has the Trailblazers and the Timbers in the MLS, so soccer team, and I've lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So for me, I always say I'm like a really bad sports fan because, like you, wherever I'm living, I do want the teams to do well. Obviously, Chicago sports first, but I do want the teams to do well because I like the energy of the city. If the team's doing well, the energy of the city's alive and people are happy and people are going to the games. And, so again, Bulls first, Milwaukee Bucks. When I was living in Milwaukee, I was going to Bucks games all the time. Giannis, he lived like across the street from me, one of the Pfizer Forum. So yeah, I mean, Chicago sports first, but no matter the city I'm living in, except from when I lived in Minneapolis, that was one city. Like I don't want the Vikings to do well for what no.
That's interesting. What would you say the bigger impact of sports is for cities and people?
No, I kind of touched on it, but it's just, people just get excited. It brings energy to the city. The city's alive when teams are doing well. And it's cool too, because you do have all of these people who are sports fans and diehards who watch every game, or they're always checking the scores and everything. But even when a team's not doing well, right? So even if a team's been bad for a number of years, and that's fine. And there are people that'll say like, oh, you're not a true fan. You haven't followed through like the bad years. And sure, whatever, if you want to think that way, that's totally fine. But for me, it's like, I don't care. I just want people to be excited about the team. So if a team's doing well, there are people that wouldn't typically watch games or wouldn't typically don't really typically follow the teams within their city. Kind of come out of the woodworks and get excited and go out and meet strangers and go out and hang out with people. And obviously right now is slightly different. The past year has been slightly different just with, going out and whatnot and not being able to really do that for the most part. But it's I think it's cool how sports can kind of bring people together, how it can, bring strangers together. And that's, I can almost tie in what I'm doing with pizza to that as well, where I make a specific type of pizza, Tavern-Style, which is thin, crispy, it's square cut. You can essentially find thin square cut pizza across the entire Midwest, no matter where you're at. I mean, Ohio, Indiana, Minnesota, Michigan outside of Detroit, Wisconsin, you go down to Missouri, all across the Midwestern states, people eat thin square cut pizza.
Go back to how this all started during the pandemic and how you got involved with making pizzas.
Yeah. So basically, and you can always tell me to shut up or cut me off or whatever. I mean, I have a tendency to talk fast, talk way too much. So just always, I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to be upset if you just kind of like chime in or whatever. So basically what happened was we moved out here a little over 2 years ago. So it was January of 2019. So then 2019 full year, and then 2020. Yeah. So we moved out January of 2019, and Lauren, my fiance, like I said, she's from Madison. We met in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and she got an offer from Nike, and the Nike World Headquarters is out here in Portland or just outside in Beaverton. So it's too good of an opportunity. I was working for Lakefront Brewery, if you're familiar. I've been with them for a number of years.
Great craft beer.
Yeah, love Lakefront. I probably would have never left that job, but she had too good of an opportunity. So we moved out to Portland, and we're here, whatever. And then basically COVID happened. So everything shuts down and we're both working from home. And I was like, geez, we're going to be spending a lot of time at home. I got to figure out something to do with, my time. I got to find a new hobby or something. We're going to be at home all the time. So I was like, hey, Lauren, we can't find pizza like we grew up eating out here. And then I kind of like Googled, and you can't find it pretty much Washington, Oregon, with California, the entire West Coast. And I even think like the East Coast down south, like it's a very, very Midwest thing that never really made its way to like other parts of the country for whatever reason, even though there are so many transplants that live.
Yeah. No, are you saying the style of pizza or pizza itself?
No, the style of pizza.
Okay. Yeah.
So Portland, obviously Detroit style pizza is a huge trend nationally. So everyone's doing Detroit style all over the country. But then you have obviously your brick oven, coal fire, Neapolitan. You have your Sicilian style, grandma style, which is a thin Sicilian. So you have all these different styles of pizza you can find in other parts of the country for whatever reason. Some are more traditional styles. Others are more trendy. Like I said, Detroit. But you just can't find like Midwest thin or what I call there's Chicago thin, and there's what I do, which is Tavern Style, which is really thin. So there's difference between like, it's splitting hairs, but there's like the thin crust square cut, and then there's like the Tavern Style, which is thinner.
Explain why it's called Tavern Style.
Okay. And then we'll come back to, we'll just be all over the place. But so essentially, without going into too much detail, kind of the history of the style, and I'm going to use Chicago as an example, but I'm sure this was happening in other Midwest blue collar cities across the region. And basically, there were like tavern and bar owners who were looking for a way to get people through the doors, to keep them around a little longer, but also to make it pretty easy. So basically, Chicago, again, being a blue collar city back in the day, you have the stockyards on the south side, and you have all these working class people, right? So they're getting off from their shifts. So they go to the bar because the bar has pizza. And what they would do is, and one of the reasons why I kind of identify with the style as well, not only eating it, growing up and everything, but these weren't bakers. These weren't pizza makers. These weren't chefs that were making these pizzas. These were tavern owners that were just looking to get people through the door.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they'd make these pizzas, they cut them into little squares so they were easy for people to kind of throw on a cocktail napkin or in their hand, have a beer in the other hand, but it was also communal, right? So you throw it on the bar, like places that do popcorn or peanuts, and it'd be easy for people to grab. They could have a couple slices, have a conversation. It was communal, and they could still go home and eat with their families, and they wouldn't be super full from eating a huge meal. So it's kind of like almost a happy hour type thing. And then it kind of evolved, and you can find all across the city of Chicago, you can find Tavern-Style and thin crust pizzas. I mean, everywhere. It's north side, south side, west side. I mean, I can name a number of places that I've been to, throughout the city, some of my favorites. So that's kind of just in a nutshell, it's a little bit on the style or the history of the style, Tavern Style.
So you couldn't find that style out in Portland?
You can't, no. And you really can't find it on the West Coast. Even I haven't looked too much into like the East Coast or anything, or the southern part of the country, southwest, and also down just kind of southern region and everything. But the only thing that I've really seen is maybe like Rosati's. So Rosati's is a franchise, and they have locations, I think, in like like in Arizona. But other than that, you can't really find like Tavern Style. At least I haven't been able to find like an authentic Tavern Style pizza. There are a few places that'll cut their pizza in squares, but that doesn't make it that specific style. But back to the initial question, how I got into this, and basically some of the stuff that I just mentioned, where we just couldn't find it, and I had a lot of time at home because of this. So I told Lauren, I was like, hey, mate, I'm just gonna make a pizza. And so I went to the store, and I couldn't find yeast at first because everybody's making bread. So like all the stores were out of yeast, so I couldn't find yeast anywhere. So I ended up going to Trader Joe's because they have pre-made dough, pizza dough. And I made a pizza, and I remember this. I made my first pizza, and then we tried it, and I was like, this isn't that good, but it's not terrible. And I knew I could improve on that. So then Lauren got on the Nextdoor app, and she just asked for yeast, and then a neighbor brought me yeast. So then I was able to, then I made my own, handmade dough. And kind of, then I made another pizza, and it was better. Just that one simple thing, making my own dough, it was instantly better. So, it wasn't perfect by any means, and perfection, I don't even think exists when it comes to, food or pizza. But because then you always need room for improvement. But she like posted a picture on her Instagram or something. And then her coworkers were like, where's that from? Like, I want to get that. And I was like, I guess I can make your coworkers pizza. And then my neighbors started asking for me to make them pizzas. So I started making these pizzas, and then I kind of got obsessed. So I was making pizzas every day, and I was trying them, and I was tweaking the sauce and the dough. And then I make my own homemade bulk sausage. So I make that from scratch. And I'm just like making these pizzas for people. And then the George Floyd situation happened. I was like, well, maybe I can like just take donations from people and make them pizzas, and then I can donate money to like some social justice orgs. So I started doing that. So I was donating to a place here in Portland called Don't Shoot PDX, and then a place back in Chicago called My Block, My Hood, My City. So I was just donating money every month to these places. And I did a pretty bad job of like keeping track of expenses and everything, but I would just kind of look at my bank account, and I would be like, I don't think I'm losing money.
That sounds like me.
It's like, I don't think I'm losing money here. So I think I'm good. I might be, maybe, everything's kind of even. So I think I'm okay. So, that's what I was doing. But to be honest, I just got obsessed, man. I was making these things every day. I was trying them. I was tweaking things. And then, it was crazy. And I don't want you to take this the wrong way or anything, but it was kind of crazy because like, even from my first like 2 weeks making pizza, I was getting really, really good feedback from everybody. And I wasn't convinced on this at all. Like I was like, this isn't that good. But people were giving me really good feedback. And then I kept doing it. A couple months passed. And then it was getting better. Like for me, I'm my toughest critic. Me or Lauren. Lauren might be tougher than I am, but I'm my toughest critic. And I'm like, okay, it's getting better. But I initially had like this guy reached out from down in LA who does Detroit style, and he was doing it through Instagram. He kind of blew up or whatever down in the LA area. And he had reached out, and then we just started kind of talking via Instagram. and he mentioned imposter syndrome because he doesn't have a background in any of this.
Sounds like
me,
that. Yeah.
I have no formal training as a chef. I have no formal training as a baker, pizza maker, anything. So, and neither is this guy, but he's getting like write-ups and all of this, attention about his product. And I, I was, that started happening to me as well. And it took a while for me to like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have confidence. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. All I know is I'm tweaking everything to my liking, and people are enjoying it. So I initially had like, and he did as well, like imposter syndrome, because we have no experience. We had no experience doing this. So when I really started to get confidence was August of last year. I flew back to Chicago.
Yes, like pilgrimage.
Yeah. So I flew back to Chicago in August. And do you know my buddy, like one of my best friends, Dylan Goodson?
Yeah, I know Dylan.
Yeah. So Dylan, I stay with Dylan and Abby. I don't know if you know Abby is his wife, but so I stayed with them, and I went to 20 pizzerias, and I think it was 5 days.
I saw this. This was so fun to watch.
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go like this now. But I'm gonna have my Chicago double chin now. That's a super fan double chin.
And he's got the mustache going.
Oh yeah.
Great.
I can never shave this thing now. You've seen my logo. I did this to myself. It's but either way, fly back to Chicago, and I was like, you know what? People are telling me my pizza is really good. I don't want it to be good for Portland. I want it to be able to compete with all of the legends back home in Chicago. I want my pizza to be as good or better than a number of the what I would call pioneers for this specific style throughout the city of Chicago, which is the mecca, in my opinion, of this style, where it potentially originated, right? So I go back, and it's funny too, because I'd been to a number of the places that I went to, I'd already been to, and then there were a number that I had never been to as well. And the way I kind of chose the place I was going to go to was because of a book called Pizza City USA, author Steve Dolinsky, aka the Hungry Hound, ABC7 Chicago.
Yeah, so, he's got his photo in all these like restaurants.
Chicago, there's a photo hanging up of him to me in the tavern.
I saw that.
So, but either way, we kind of, I reached out to him or something, and then because his book is basically his book, the whole thesis of that book, Pizza City USA, is why Chicago, he argues why Chicago's the best pizza city in the United States. Is because there are 10 different distinct styles within the city of Chicago. Whereas you go to places like New York, right, known for pizza, and you can get a great slice on any corner.
Slices anywhere, yeah.
But it's all the same style. Whereas Chicago, you have thin crust, Tavern-Style, you have Roman, deep dish, stuffed pizza, you have Detroit style, Sicilian, Neapolitan, brick oven, coal fire. You have all these different styles within the city, and there's places that do it, an amazing job.
Yeah.
All over, all different parts of the city. So we kind of like, I don't know. When I went back, I ended up meeting up with them. We were hanging out. We got a pizza at Fasano's on the south side and everything. And then we've kind of been in contact. We kind of talk, from time to time, just on the internet and everything. But super cool guy either way. I go to Chicago. I go on this pilgrimage throughout the city, going and getting pizza, Tavern-Style pizza. And that was where kind of, I was like, okay, we're making like a pretty good product. So I came back, and then I started getting reviews from like local chefs and local pizza makers. And that, again, that's where I started to continue to gain confidence, was in that. And then finally, I had this wait list on Instagram, which it sounds so stupid. Like I feel dumb even saying it, but it grew. And you gotta think too, I could only make so many in my house, right? I was working full time, and I could only make so many these pizzas, after I was making dough and sauce in the morning. I was working all day, and then I was making pizzas for people at night, and they'd come to my house and pick them up. But it grew to over 1.5 years to get pizza from me out of my house. So at that point, I was like, you know what? Like, it's funny. I'm just happy I enjoy making pizza.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a choice. Like I had to do this. You know what I mean? Like it got so out of control that like I didn't have a choice other than to quit my job and figure out how to do this thing full time.
Yeah.
So I know I've kind of been all over the place, but that's a little bit about where we're at.
So what you're providing, you say you have this imposter syndrome, but what you're finding is that you're adding value to people's lives because there's so much of a nostalgia for maybe this Midwest kind of style pizza. Do you find that it's really like those memories that people have that they can't get on the West Coast?
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. And I'll tell you two specific stories that always come to mind when people kind of talk about the nostalgia factor or ask me questions about that. And and sometimes people ask like, who are your customers or who have you seen that are your customers? And I've actually, it's everybody. For Midwesterners, I'm providing that nostalgia. I'm providing them a taste of home. But for Portlanders and others that aren't from the Midwest or didn't grow up eating the style of pizza, I'm providing something new, a new style of pizza that they've never had before. So I'm kind of providing pizza for whoever. And but as far as the nostalgia and some of the stories where I was like, okay, we have something more than pizza here. First story, there's this guy. He came to pick up his pizza, and this is months ago now. So when I was making pizzas in my house, this guy shows up. He's decked out in Bulls gear, and I'm like, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, did you put all that on just to pick this pizza up? And he's like, yeah. And I serve my pizza in bags, traditional pizza bags, not boxes, pizza bags, and the pizza I make does have a distinct smell. It does. Like this style of pizza has a distinct smell. And I'm coming down the stairs. I have this bag, and you can kind of get the whiff, and I think it all hit him at once or something because he started to tear up. And I was like, oh man, hey, I'm like, everything good? And he's like, yeah, sorry, just like everything kind of hit me at once. The bag, the smell and everything. And he's like, me and my dad, we used to get pizza every Friday, and he passed away a few years ago. So it basically all hit him at once. And these are kind of some of there's been a number of stories kind of like this, different, but like this that people have told me, but this is one. And then I'll tell you one more. This is kind of where the light bulb went off, where I'm like, okay, I'm making pizza. It tastes okay, but I'm providing something else for a lot of people, and it's more than pizza. And this other story is kind of a little heavy, I guess, but I get this message. I get this DM on Instagram from this girl. It was timestamped like 11:30 or something like that. So it's 11:30 p.m. And I wake up in the morning and I see it. And it said something along the lines of, hey, Jerry, I had your pizza, a month or so ago. Some friends got one. I had it. It was great. And I told my mom about it. My mom, I don't know if she was from Chicago or if she had lived there for a number of years, but now she asks me about the pizza every day. And, I've been doing at-home hospice with my mom. And every day she asks me, when's the pizza? When's the pizza? When's the pizza? And I'm like, can you pick up pizza tomorrow? Like, because again, I had this list and she was probably like a couple months out, but then she kind of hit me up and she was like, I'd been drinking wine all night. Like it gave me the courage to reach out to you and see if there's any way we could. I'm like, no problem. Just like, can you pick up pizza tomorrow? It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, just how's noon or something. And great. So I make this pizza and then she comes, she picks up, she's like, thank you. And then she takes it back to her mom. And about, I don't know if an hour or two passed or something. And then she hits me, she messages me and she says, hey, I haven't seen my mom eat so much in months. And then she proceeded to tell me all of these stories about her life in Chicago that she had never told me before.
Oh, wow.
And then she ended up passing away like a couple of weeks later. So that's when this light bulb goes off. I'm like, oh shit, like we have something, we're making something that's more than pizza for a lot of people. The fact that daughter brings mom pizza, mom eats pizza, proceeds to tell daughter stories that she has never told her daughter before in her entire life, and then passes away a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, okay, I made a pizza, it's whatever, but it triggered like this, like not funny, but like interesting effect that that, now this daughter has these stories from her mom that she would have never heard before if it wasn't for the pizza. And that's, again, I sound like a broken record, but that's that kind of one of the light bulb moments where I'm like, man, food is powerful. And I've always loved food. I never knew I was going to get into like making food, but I always loved eating food. It's always been one of my favorite things to do is when I'm traveling, even in the city that I live in, to explore all different places and different types of food. But it's really, really powerful and really cool how food can bring people together. I'm like, maybe I'm naive, but I'm one of those people who's like, and listen, you just got to get people from all over the world. You got to get people from all different, races, religions, believe in all different things, everything. You got to have them all a big potluck. So basically just a big potluck. People bring different food items from the, what they grew up eating or whatever, bring some alcohol, maybe some weed, whatever. And just sit down and talk and have a conversation. Yeah. And people are going to realize like, oh shit, like we got a lot more in common than we do different. Like, why are we fighting all the time?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do you find, I totally agree with that. The experience, it brings people together. When you travel and stuff, do you plan it out based on where you're going to eat and drink and stuff?
I mean, the funny thing is like, so Lauren's a planner.
Okay.
I'm not. When I travel, I just show up.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I just show up and I start, doing things. Mm-hmm. And but she does a little more research and there she might find some places, some breweries, bars or restaurants, place that we're gonna go. But I'm like, let's get bikes, let's start biking around, and then we'll belly up at a bar and then we'll talk and then we'll find out from like locals where we should go eat. We're looking for this type of food. Like where do I go? I don't care how far it is in the city. Like just we'll make it work. And that's typically how I do it. I'll just be like, tell me where to go. Because when in doubt, you just go to a bar and people, the bartender, like you'll meet a stranger or something. They'll point you in the right direction of like, a place to go eat or something. So
as someone who bartends, I agree with that 100%.
I mean, it's funny too. Like you'll end up, I mean, you'll just end up in some like amazing places. Like, and just having a ball. But
and you get an experience that's like much different than what you would typically get.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, like I said, Lauren's more of a planner. So if we're traveling or something, we'll knock out some of the touristy stuff because brain is different. She's just organized.
Right.
So she's planning things and wants to see like the sights. Mm-hmm. And then we're always like, then there's always what we call Jerry time. It's like that's where it's just like we're gonna get bikes, we're gonna go to this, we're just gonna find a bar and we're gonna go belly out, have a couple drinks, start talking to people, and then we're just gonna see where it takes us. It's almost like, do you remember those books when you were a kid, R.L. Stein, Goosebumps, and it's like choose your own ending?
Oh, Goosebumps, yeah.
Do you remember Goosebumps?
I do remember Goosebumps.
And like there were like the actual like books or whatever, like the Night of the Living Dummy or whatever, and then there's like the ones where you choose your own ending. Because you'll be like flip to page 32, or like if you want to go into this door, flip to page 63, and that's kind of it. It's like we're just gonna go through this door to this tavern, and then we're gonna eat or we're gonna like have a beer, but we're gonna talk to a stranger, and then they're gonna tell us where to go next.
Yeah. Well, what are some of your favorite experiences, like traveling wise and experiencing the food?
Like are you talking specifically Chicago, or are you talking like different cities in the
anywhere
US
in the world?
I mean, this is kind of, it's funny because sometimes food too, it's interesting too, because sometimes I think I'm like, do I really, really love this right now because of where I'm at? Or is it really that good? Or is it because I think sometimes maybe the brain gets like tricked into being like, yo, I'm in Greece right now and I'm having a gyro and this is like the best thing I've ever eaten. Yeah. The best thing I've ever eaten, or am I just eating a gyro in Greece?
Yeah.
Well, either way, that was one of the best things. I'm a huge, when I eat, like I love texture. Like I love differences in texture. Texture is like a huge part for like me when I eat. And like, man, this gyro was like, just, you take that when, okay, this might not make sense, but I know something is good. Like when I take one bite of something,
Okay.
And I'm just like, yo, that's when I know, like, when my brain instantly is like, you just got to say yo audibly out loud. That's when I know it's just insane. So gyro. And then one of my this is actually kind of I don't, it's not embarrassing, but it's like a funny story, I guess. But we were in Shanghai, and this was like the end of 20, wait, what, 2018? No, 2019. So this was
Okay.
at the end of 2019. And I don't know, we were just there, and I was like, yo, Lauren, like, we got to go to this place. Like, I don't know how I found it, but we have to go to this place. I think it was a Hunan style food. So, which is, I believe, don't quote me, I don't want to sound ignorant, but like, I believe it's like spicy. It's like a region, I believe, in China. And they specialize in like more like spicy cuisine. And
Okay.
so we go to this place, and we just like get the menus, and we just like order a bunch of food. And we got like some just like just dumplings, and this like spicy beef, and like a bunch of different dishes. And it was one of the best things I've ever eaten. Like, I couldn't stop eating. And it was, I joke with my friends and stuff, and like with Lauren, I was like, I got high off the food, man. Has that ever happened? Like, I don't know, if there's got to be something, like, especially with spicy foods. I don't know. Like, I felt like this like level
Really?
of euphoria, where I was just like, and then the dumbest thing is, like, not, you know what I mean? I'm kind of joking around. Like, I wasn't like really high or anything, but I was like enjoying my food so much, and it was so good, and it was just the whole moment. And Lauren actually ended up, there's like pictures of me. She snapped photos while I'm eating, and I'm just having like the time of my life, shoveling, just like using my chopsticks as shovels, and
Yeah.
just like shoveling food into my mouth. And she had to cut me off. I couldn't stop eating. I
She
was
cut
so
you off
full.
from eating food.
Yeah, she had to cut
Yeah.
me off. I was putting myself into like an insane food coma. We ordered so much, I couldn't stop though. It was so good. Um, and again, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but dude, I mean, I just love just food. So I love it. I mean, our in Chicago is, and obviously I haven't been to every city in the U.S. I haven't lived in every city in the U.S. or anything, but Chicago up against anybody.
What are your favorite Chicago pizza spots? I mean, we get the rep for being known for deep dish, but that's like, I have it maybe like once every 6 months, you
Yeah,
know?
but that's the thing. You live in Chicago. You're a local. I mean, yes, you're a
Yeah.
Scot, but you're a local. You live in Chicago. You've been in Chicago for a long. It's funny because, yes, deep dish originated in the city of Chicago. There's no arguing that. I think it was 1943, I want to say, and it was Uno downtown. Uno's.
Pizzeria Uno. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was they were the originators of deep dish pizza, and then pizza makers. There was Rudy Malnati, who then branched off, and we obviously know the Malnati
Yeah.
name in Chicago.
Yeah.
And So yeah, deep dish originated in Chicago. There's no arguing that. That's true. But I would consider that more of special occasion pizza, or people are visiting from out of town and they want to
Yeah.
get deep dish. You take them to get deep dish. So
Mhm.
when you say you have it maybe once every 6 months, it's probably because you have friend or family visiting.
Yeah.
That's probably
Or it's no, it's a special occasion too, right?
or that. Or it's like,
Yeah.
hey, special occasion, let's get deep dish pizza. Don't get me wrong, it's delicious. Like, if I had to choose a deep dish, Chicago local deep dish chain, I go Malnati's all day. I'll take Malnati's.
I do that too. Yep. I
I'll
agree.
take it over Giordano's. I'll take it over Gino's East. Any of those places. Like, I'm all about Lou Malnati's, or even Paisano's, which is a smaller chain, but it's very similar to Malnati's because
Okay.
they were like family members that like broke off and did their own thing. There might have been some sort of, but either way. So as far as, but that's a thing where in Dolinsky, Steve Dolinsky will talk about that as well in his book, about how you can find way more thin square cut or tavern style pizza across the city of Chicago, and that's what people eat on a regular basis. Friday night pizza night. They're typically getting that, right.
Yeah.
So for me, some of my favorite places, I mean, Vito and Nick's Southside, that's 84th and Pulaski. That's
Okay.
to me, that is the holy grail of tavern style pizza. It's my favorite. There's a place not too far from there called Villanova. It's just north of Midway Airport in Stickney. Place is insane. Just, it's super, super good. Now, I do think they could probably bake it about 2 minutes longer, because it is a little, it is a little floppy.
Okay.
And that's one, but the flavor is so good that I didn't like, it doesn't even matter. It was just a really good pie. I really like Barnaby's of
Okay.
Northbrook. That's the north side. I mean, there's so many good spots across the city.
What do you think about Pequod's?
I have an unpopular opinion on that, so I'd rather not
Oh,
on camera. I don't want people like hating me or anything, but no, Pequod's has a cool history because Burt Katz started Pequod's and also Gulliver's, but then he branched off and went up to that northern suburb, Morton Grove, I think. It's kind of near Skokie.
okay.
Morton Grove, I think. And then he started Burt's Place. And I don't know if did you ever have a chance to go to Burt's Place?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, insane. So you basically have to call the place and it would always be busy. It's like calling, how old are you? You're about my age. You're 32.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you ever call the radio station when you were a kid to try to like get them to play your song?
Yeah, I think a few times. Yeah.
Or you try to like win a contest, you'd call the radio station, but it'd always be busy. So you'd have to like hang up and then dial again. Just like,
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was at Burt's Place, where you'd have to make your reservation for your pizza. So it was reservations only. So you'd have to make your reservation. Then you show up at like 5 p.m. on Thursday and his wife would serve you the pizza. It was like a two-person operation. And, that pizza was incredible, but unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. So now Burt's Place still exists, but I believe, and I always say, don't quote me on this because I don't want to I don't know if it's 100% the truth, but I believe some people bought it, but Burt's Place is still, is still running, is still going. But I've only had it when Burt made it. I haven't had it since, so I don't know if the quality. I just don't know the consistency of the pizza now. But no, Pequod's is good. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah. You said consistency. Consistency is huge then for pizza.
Yeah, no, most definitely. It's super important. But one thing I've also learned too is, and maybe I'm totally wrong, and if any other pizza makers happen to listen or see this or whatever, maybe they disagree. I'm not sure because, again, I don't come from this and I'm just kind of learning every day as I go. But yes, consistency is obviously important. You want your product to be consistent every single time. However, when you think about, there is a level of, we are, and I am making a handmade product, right? I make the dough from scratch, the sauce from scratch. I make the sausage from scratch. All of these things are, for the most part, made from scratch. So you have your recipes and you make that thing, especially with dough, you're working with a living organism. You're working with heat. So it's funny how like little things, I can sometimes notice like subtle differences. And it's like really weird because it's like, I did everything the same. I did literally everything the same, but you still get subtle differences. And it's funny. It's interesting. And you're always kind of learning because, again, temperature, humidity, there's all these like little things like in the air too, like yeast and everything that could potentially affect it and change it slightly. So I look at, yes, consistency is really quality. For me, quality consistency will always be of the utmost importance with what I do. It has to be like that. Like you,
but even within that, each pizza is its own like special pizza unique.
That's the thing where it's like, it's consistently, you want to be consistently good.
Yeah.
But you might find subtle, like little things here and there. And again, it's a handmade product. Whereas when I think about the bigger guys and gals, like the Domino's, the Papa John's, the Pizza Huts of the world, they're logistics companies. They're just really, really good at being really, really efficient and doing high volume and cranking out pizzas. Like Domino's, you know who's making your pizza and you know who's delivering it and putting it on your doorstep at that exact time.
Yeah.
So, and you can go anywhere in the world and that pizza is going to taste the same. Like we talk about consistency, the bigger guys and gals, that's consistency. And there's something to say about that. Like I'm not knocking them because that's an insane, like to me, that's insane. I'm giving all the respect in the world to them for being able to do that. Right. To do that volume that consistently is pretty amazing actually, but that's not what I do. And that's okay. What I do is like it's a handmade product. It's everything's from scratch and you're not, you may have to wait longer. It's not like you call and pizza's ready in 20 minutes. And that's one thing that I've also thought about potentially starting like a little thing called like the Portland Pizza Collective, where other independent pizza makers from the city can come together like once a month, and we can all just like chat and talk about, what we're doing and everything, but also how we can better educate consumers on what we do, right? Because I feel like we've been conditioned to think pizza should be cheap, and pizza should be ready and available whenever, and pizza should be all of these things because what you see on TV, Domino's, Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, all these places. So we've almost been conditioned to be like, this is, it should be just, I get it whenever I want. It should be like $10, and it should be this. It's like, whoa, let's back to train up. Let's educate the consumers on how much time and effort goes into making all of these things from scratch. Not only that, we're using higher quality ingredients that cost more. Then, not myself, I'm my only employee, but you have other pizza makers in town that, pay their employees a living wage and have to pay rent. And there's all this overhead and these labor costs. And it's like, that has to come from somewhere.
Right.
So it has to go into the pizza costs, and you increase things here and you cut things here. So then you're hopefully in a good position. Right. So that's the thing. It's like consumers don't always think like that, obviously. And that's okay. But if we can do a better job of maybe educating them and letting them know why we're at this price point, why we're not always available, why, some of these things, then maybe they'll better understand.
It's incredible how much you've learned in like a year. Like just talking with you about something that you just started.
It's funny,
and you're still learning.
I joke all the time. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. It's weirdly fun. Like I'm just out here. I'm just kind of out here shooting from the hip, But yeah, it's been fun.
How many pizzas would you say you've made now?
I have no idea. Like
I
don't know. I mean, I did a ton in my house. I don't know, a couple thousand.
Wow.
Which isn't really that many in the grand scheme of things. I mean, there are pizza makers that, have been doing this for 30 plus years who've made, they're like McDonald's with the
billion served.
They're like billion pizza makers, the pizza count or something. But no, I mean, it's pretty, I've made quite a few, but it's crazy. Like I think I mentioned, I did kind of a quiet soft opening on Monday, this past Monday.
Yeah, how'd it go? What's the operation look like now?
I mean, the thing is this. I don't think not everybody like knows or anything. Like this is not a typical operation. Like I'm in the back of a tavern, so the kitchen I'm working with is probably the size of your kitchen at your house. So basically, I have a dough sheeter, so I can sheet my dough. I have a little prep station, and then I have a electric countertop pizza oven with 4 decks.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working with. Then I have a little staging area where I can put it in a bag, or I can put it onto a tray to serve to a table at the tavern. Okay. And the thing is, I'm making all the pizzas. I'm baking all the pizzas in the oven, and then I'm plating all the pizzas, and then I'm bringing the pizzas out to people. So I'm doing everything. And then there's one bartender at the tavern who takes everyone's drink orders. Okay. So I don't know, like I'll start off and I'll only be doing about 25 pies a night. Okay. That's it. I mean,
how much were you doing before though in your house?
Oh, like 4 to 6.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just going to, increase that and as I become more efficient, as I learn, and if people continue to enjoy the product like they have, then I'll look at hiring, and then I'll look at extending hours. And then, if people, again, I keep saying, if people continue to enjoy, then I'll look at expanding. But it's funny because, I've been hit up by a lot of people, people that want, in town, restaurant groups, things like that like to invest in all of this. And, it's humbling and it's flattering and everything. But at the end of the day, it's like, I kind of just want to do my own little thing, and then we'll see where it goes. I don't want to, start, doing all these things. And especially too, because I don't think everybody kind of understand unless you grew up in the Midwest and you kind of grew up eating the style of pizza, maybe after a little league game or something like that, then you don't fully understand kind of what I'm trying to create. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to officially open to the public on May 17th. That's what it's looking like. But here in Portland, we just got shut down again. Okay. So we're like, it's just outdoor dining and pick up or to go. I don't know how long that's going to last, but Yeah, I think we're gonna roll May 17th and just go for it, open officially, and I'll pre-sell about 20 pies. I'll pre-sell them a week in advance for the week. I'll pre-sell 20 pies for each night. And then we'll kind of, or 20, 25, and then we'll, or 30, whatever, and we'll go from there.
That's
And
awesome.
Hopefully I'll become more efficient, and then I'll be able to up that number. And then, like I said, maybe add an employee and maybe whatever. But I'll figure all that out.
Well, that's exciting. This is so cool. So like the last question, actually I have another question for you, but
I got nothing going on, man. We could talk all day, but you probably got a time limit on how long you want the episodes or whatever. I don't really know much about podcasts. I've just been on a bunch, but I don't know anything about
it. So you kind of found this obsession in your life where like every day you just want to get better and you just love doing it. For like listeners or people that are watching this, like, how do you think there's no one way to do it, but how does one find that something that they're just obsessed about?
I mean, that's a pretty loaded question, but for me, I think obviously people kind of know the things that they enjoy doing and the things that they're passionate about, or they really love doing. But then it's like, how do I make money? Because unfortunately, you just, that's a part of life, right? You need to make ends meet. You need to make money. So it's like taking something that you love or something that you're passionate about. How do you then make money doing that, right?
Yeah.
And like you had mentioned, everyone kind of learns differently. Everyone does things differently. I mean, for me, it's people always ask me, did you read book? How did you learn how to make pizza? Like, did you read books? Did you watch? What did you do?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I just did it. Like learned, I just did it. Like I just messed around in the kitchen on my own. Like, yes, I looked up recipes because I needed a baseline, right?
Mm-hmm.
I needed a baseline of like, I don't come from this. So like I needed to know like, what do I need to do? But then I took those baseline recipes and then I went off in my own direction and started adding this or taking that away or doing this or doing that. And then seeing like what the outcome would be. And then I would push things in, every direction to see how would that positively or negatively affect the final product and everything. And was just doing that every day. But I guess for me, it's like, it's almost, and it's kind of funny because Lauren works at Nike, but like, just do it. It sounds stupid, but
it's the best motto ever.
It's just like the hardest thing is like, I feel dumb saying it. Like I sound, cause it's like the cliche, like cheesy thing to say or whatever. It's like, to just like go for it or like, just do it. But like, that's the hardest part for a lot of people, right? Because there's that comfort as humans, like there's like almost like this, it's comfortable, like it's scary to just to take like this leap or like to do something. Cause like, what if you fail? And like, or what if you're probably gonna fail? Like you're probably gonna fuck up, like, but it's like, I'm learning too, to like, sometimes I get upset. Like I do something, I'm like, and you like get upset and then it's like, whoa, take a step back. Like maybe just like laugh about it. Like when you fuck up, just like laugh. Just be like, oh, like trying to find the joy in like the failures. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. Like, cause I'm competitive and I want things to be a certain way and I want to be perfect and everything like that. But like perfection doesn't necessarily exist and always gives you something to like work towards.
Yeah.
And that's why like when they gave Shaun White in the X Games, like in 2016, they gave him 100 on his half pipe. I was like, well, how do you give somebody 100? Because like, then like, so you basically set the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't do
better.
Like what are you 100? You're gonna give out 101? Like, that's why it's like, if anyone does the best anything, it's like 99.
Yeah.
Like at the most, like at the most to 99. You can't have 100.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe I'm an idiot, which I am, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think anybody who's like into their craft so much, from the outside, it's like, oh, that was perfect. But to them and all the training they go through, they just, in their head, they're like, well, I could have played this note a little bit different, or I could have moved my fingers a little quicker there, you know? And it's
Yeah.
just, it's
Because I'm getting
so
all these people that
interesting.
are like, don't change anything. It's perfect. I get all these people and I'm like, is it though? You know, thank you. And it's like, I really like, thank you. I appreciate, I'm glad you enjoy. I'm glad I can bring back memories for people that are from the Midwest, but I'm also, I'm glad I can introduce Portlanders and others to a new style of pizza and everything. But I wouldn't go that far, but back to actually the question that you had asked about, for other people, it's like, I mean, just find a way to make money doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can, whatever it is, like you can find it. And I would say like, it's important to take feedback from people. I really do think that is really important. However, don't let it change what you have said in your head of like what you're going to do, if that makes sense, right?
Okay.
Like you can create something and make something like for example, when I was making pizzas in my house, every single person that got pizza from me got 5 questions, and they would answer those questions and send it back to me. And I took all of this information, pricing. One of the questions was about pricing, how much they'd pay, like all of these
Okay.
things, and I used all of that to kind of build this thing out. But, you know, there people would also offer feedback, and I would take some of that into consideration. But at the end of the day, honestly, I don't want to come off as an asshole or anything, but I was just trying to create something for myself.
Yeah.
And then you almost teach people what to like, or like I'm almost like you just hope that other people enjoy it as well. I made something for me, and then I'm just hoping that other people enjoy it. And to
Yeah.
this point, it's worked. Um, am I going to run into some bumps? Well, yeah, of course. But at that point, then I'll reevaluate, or I'll pivot, or I'll look to, maybe make some changes.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
basically what I'm saying is like people are going to try to tell you what to do, but like only you know best what you're trying to achieve or
Yeah.
what you're trying to do. So don't like take feedback. I sound like I'm like hypocritical. It's like take feedback with a grain of salt, but like only you, whatever it is that you're trying to create or whatever it is you're trying to do, only you can like, best, and trust that. And don't change because people are asking you to change something, unless you're seeing 50% of the people are saying the same thing.
Right.
Okay, now I need to make a change. But if one person says something, it's like, okay, no, like I'm just gonna do my thing.
Yeah. Something I'm curious about is shifting a little bit in a different direction. Where do you get all your vintage clothing and hats?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it I've had. Like I used to be when I lived in Chicago, I was a huge thrifter. So
Okay.
there's a place in Chicago called Value Village. And then
Okay.
some of the stuff I've had since I was a kid. Like some of this stuff is like maybe I didn't grow that much. But like some of the stuff,
You grew on the inside.
yeah, right, exactly. I just became more wise.
Yeah.
Uh, no, yeah, no. I'd go to like a ton of thrift stores and stuff like that, and I would just have to try to find old, retro sports gear. You can find some good stuff on eBay. Like every now and then, I'll get on eBay and I'll see if there's anything out there or what. But I've always loved sports, but I've always loved like I feel I was born in '87, so I didn't grow up in the '80s, but I feel like that's like me. Like I'm like an '80s like I love like the vintage sports '80s and '90s like the '80s music, like all of that. That's just kind of like, I don't know if you can see, but I have a mullet.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so but I got a hat hair right now. But
Do you remember
yeah,
the Jordan years in the 90s at all, or
oh yeah, of course, man.
yeah.
I used to go to my grandma's and watch the games, and my grandma watched she liked two things: figure skating and Michael. So we'd always watch the Bulls and everything. I remember watching the NBA championship, against the Jazz in like 90, because they played the Jazz 2 years straight. It was like the
Yeah.
90, 96, 97, 97, 98, 2 years straight where they
Mhm.
beat them both times. But oh yeah, of course. Like I was pretty young for like the first three, but
Yeah.
then the final three, I I like remember watching. I still have my Jordan jersey, my champion, like the champion
Yeah.
Jordan jersey. I still have it. It's super small. It's really tight. Like it's, but I still got it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's been great chatting with you today. Where can people find what you're doing, more about it?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, it's funny because I was never like I never really had like I was never really into like social media really or anything, but now I've had to kind of, and I still don't even really know what I'm doing. I'm just out there like posting stuff and everything. But Jerry's Pizza PDX, that's probably the best thing is Jerry's Pizza at Jerry's Pizza PDX on Instagram. And then I do have a website, which is jerry'spdx.com.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's up yet. My buddy's working on it. but the
shooting from the hip.
Yeah, the Instagram is kind of where I post stuff and like update people on what's going on and everything. So one of my favorite, real quick from this past week, I'm just gonna pull out my phone. This is like one of my favorites. So people have been sending messages, for this soft opening, after the fact, they're sending me messages about, the pizza and everything. And this message was one of my favorites. And so this woman, she said, the pizza is fantastic. The sauce to topping ratio is spot on. I love the sauce. I also love canned mushroom on pizza, and you can't, and no one does that but you here. I hope you take this as a compliment, but it was like a Totino's pizza in the best way. It's the kind of pizza I could eat every day. So congrats. And I can't wait to become a regular. But this was my favorite part. She goes, when my 65-year-old Korean mom who immigrated here and likes nothing said it was delicious, it's delicious. So that made me laugh. That was funny.
That's fantastic.
She was like, yeah, my Korean mom who immigrated here just doesn't like anything, and she loved it. So and that's the thing, when kids like it and old people like it, you're doing something right, because they are to the point and straightforward, and they're not going to lie to you.
Feedback.
Exactly. So that's another thing, everybody. So if you need feedback on stuff, kids, old people, they're going to tell you the truth.
Real quick, what's Portland like?
Have you ever been?
No, I've been to Eugene, Oregon, kind of rolled through Oregon, but big evergreen trees.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's really green. It rains a lot in the winters. Summers are super sunny. You have the ocean an hour and a half in one direction, then you have Mount Hood an hour and a half in the other direction. So you have like mountains, but also ocean. City. There's a big food cart culture, so it's a lot of food cart pods, things like that. You have the Willamette River, which runs through, so there are a lot of bridges in the city.
Okay.
But it's a big bike city, so a lot of biking, bicycling, blazers, timbers, sports. It's not like a huge city or anything. So think like Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay, got you.
So yeah, I would say kind of like that, but of the West. It's the Milwaukee of the West Coast.
There we go. Awesome.
That's how I'll sum it up.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. This has been great.
Hey, no problem. Hey, thanks for having me. It was nice chatting with you, man. It's been a long time.